President Obama seemed to have been enjoying a good stretch. Osama bin Laden was killed. The stock market was chugging along. The economy was slowly adding some jobs, but then boom, unemployment rate ticked up to 9.1%. Combined with rising consumer prices, it's now tougher to cast the economy in a good light. Will this cause President Obama to change his re-election strategy? Joining us now, Matt Schlapp, former White House political director under President George W. Bush, and Democratic campaign consultant Ryan Clayton. Good to see you both, gentlemen. Ryan, let me start with you. The economic picture is increasingly bleak. We'll put it up on the screen here. Unemployment is up, consumer prices rising, manufacturing down, home prices falling, consumer confidence dropping, economic growth slowing, the dollar is sinking and layoffs continue, and yet the president calls the latest news, quote, a bump in the road. You know, Ryan, it's certainly more than that for millions of Americans who are suffering terribly. Does the president need to not only change his strategy, but his rhetoric as well?
You know, the American economy is based on a balance of supply and demand, and right now there is no supply-side solution to our current problems. What we need is a demand-side solution. We need Americans with jobs, and we need businesses. What businesses need is Americans with money in their pockets ready to spend.
I get it, but you're not answering my question. Does the president need to change his rhetoric and his strategy?
I mean, Obama's been focused on jobs from day one, putting out a message that says we need to get America back to work. We need to have a stimulus. We need to stabilize the economy and then stimulate the economy,
Yeah,
even if that requires creating more public sector jobs.
Words are vacuous without meaningful action. That's the point here, isn't it, Ryan?
I mean, the government, or Obama took meaningful action with the stimulus package to put Americans back to work, and that stabilized the economy, cut unemployment, and every month since he's been in office, unemployment has been going down. We've been putting more Americans back to work.
He promised if the stimulus would pass that by now unemployment would be at 7%. It is at 9.1%. Now, Matt, the recovery has been slowed by events beyond his control and our control, and the president has pointed that out. And in fairness, he may have a point. Japan's crisis, instability in the Middle East, rising gas prices. You would agree that President Obama can hardly be blamed for those things.
Well, I certainly think it's unfair to blame a president for natural disasters. I mean, part of being president is have to deal with almost any issue that occurs across the globe. When it comes to the high prices of commodities like fossil fuels, oil and gas, I think the president has had the wrong policies. His EPA is pursuing still regulating carbon dioxide emissions. And after the tragedy in the Gulf, they responded by stopping permitting. The problem when you stop the production of domestic oil and gas is that it takes a long time for these resources to come online, and I think it's had a negative impact on the price at the pump that people are paying. Yeah. They're paying too much.
Ryan, the Republican argument will be this. In 2012, we tried President Obama's plan, big government, big stimulus, big regulation, and it did not work. And as I mentioned a moment ago, he promised unemployment would right about now be 7% if we passed the stimulus. It's 9.1 and rising. Growth is anemic. It's time to try a different approach. Cut spending, reduce taxes, and that will stimulate economic growth and jobs. That's going to be the Republican argument. Will you admit that to the electorate that's hurting right now, that could be an attractive argument?
Well, look, we elected President Obama, President of the United States, not Superman. You know, he's done a very heavy lift getting our country back on track and stabilizing the economy. And, you know, the Republican plan proposed by Paul Ryan, that's going to gut Medicare. It's going to increase the debt, and we're going to lose 2 million jobs in 2 years. And I don't think whoever's running against him can really run a campaign on that, at least a winning campaign.
Matt, in today's Washington Post, Dan Balz writes the following. Republicans have chosen to focus on debt and spending without effectively dealing with the public's worries about jobs and housing. They have lost some of the post-election glow from last fall. Is he right?
No, I actually don't think he's right. I actually think that what's happening today is that The markets are watching what the politicians are doing about our debt. For the first time, our spending has gotten to the attention of these capital markets and people that have investments that are on the sidelines. And the fact that America's rating could be reduced by Moody's and Standard & Poor's and others, this is a brave new world where the international community is making a judgment on what we're doing to get our fiscal house in order. And their judgment is that we're not doing enough. And I think we heard this weekend that if we don't get a deal soon on the budget, there's going to be dire consequences for our economy. I think the third way for President Obama is to actually do what he said he'd do in 2008. Reach across the aisle, sit down with Republicans and Democrats, and let's get a deal.
Ryan, look, this has been an awful week for jobless Americans, the economy, the stock market. And yet the president started it off by playing golf on Monday and ended it by playing golf yesterday. And since he took office 2 years and 4 months ago, the president has played 71 rounds of golf. I haven't played 71 rounds in a decade, and I dare say I'm a bigger golf enthusiast than he is. Look, Ryan, optics, as you know, are very important. And sure, he's entitled to a little R&R, but 71 rounds of golf while this nation is in deep crisis. We didn't elect him to work on his handicap. Shouldn't the image be a president, the leader of the free world, with his sleeves rolled up and working to solve the problems that are plaguing Americans?
Yeah, Obama's been playing some golf, but I'm not going to really stand here and talk about his scorecard on the golf course. I think what's more important is his scorecard with where our country's going and what he's doing to fix all the problems we have. And he's been an excellent political leader. He's made a lot of tough choices, and he's really pushed our country forward. And there's a lot of room to improve. There's a long way to go. But Obama's doing a heck of a job, and I think it's only going to keep on getting better from here.
All right, gentlemen, Matt Schlapp, Ryan Clayton, good to see you both. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well,